Hey everyone, welcome to another Typology interview. We have Ikraam. How's it going? With an exclamation at the end of her name.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love the exclamation mark.
Yeah, I want to say sorry to everybody just for the delay. Ikraam, you had some sensory chaos going around or something?
Yeah, guys, I have a new puppy. It's really a long story, was not planned. And she's chaotic. Yeah.
Is she there? Can we?
No, she's downstairs. She's very big. She's like a very big puppy. I think she's sleep blast, guys. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
So welcome. Let's start with your history in typology, just so we get a vibe.
So I guess my history with typology starts with MBTI. I did the 16 personalities quiz when I was around 15, and I got an INFP. And then I really related to that. I was like, yeah, I'm an INFP. That makes sense. And I got everyone in my family to do it. And then I got really into it because I typed my mom as an ENTJ, and I was like, oh, that's why we're so different, yada, yada, yada. And then I started reading more about it, and then because I started doing more research, I started believing in it less because I'm like, this is too flat for it to be real. So I left Myers-Briggs, and then I went to I studied Enneagram for like 3 years, and I really like Enneagram, even though I still don't know my type that well. Yeah, but yeah, that's basically my history. And then I discovered Dave back in those days when I was 15, and then I found him again, and so I started the OPS classes in December.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that was a lot of masculine sensory there. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I guess I'm sensory, guys.
Right.
This type.
So, okay, so that's a lot of like at 15 you discovered, and then you went to Enneagram. You're jumping all around a lot, and it wasn't real. Like this is all good type talk here, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, it literally was like, this is too simple to be real, even though I liked the idea of like putting people into boxes. I guess that's my NI. Like it makes me feel good. I remember like being into astrology when I was really young as well. And I've always had that inclination, but then I also never feel like the box is good enough. I'm like, break the box. Like this is not, people are too complex. And I still feel that way, but I guess that's been part of my growth journey, I guess, is
Right.
like accepting that I can still use this even though it's not perfect. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Did you feel that way also about Enneagram?
Enneagram is so, the thing is with Enneagram, you're very much like told not to type other people, just type yourself. So it's very good for self-discovery in that way. And it's like a completely different culture. Like it's kind of like taboo to type other people, and like not even taboo, it's like it's in bad taste. So it felt like I feel okay trying to put myself in a box, but I feel like other people putting me in a box or me putting other people in a box, it's like some kind of weird energy there. I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so with OP as well, are you seeing the same thing? Are you seeing that it's not perfect or it's not real or something like that?
Like, so I spent a lot of times in the Facebook group before I got more into the community and actually talking to other people. And I felt like a lot of the conversations were really cool. I liked hearing what people had to say, but sometimes it did feel like everything was way too simplistic. And I'm like, guys, like people are not this simple. Like what the heck? And
Right.
then, so I would have like tidal waves where I'm like, maybe I should just leave all this. I think I'm ruining my brain because like, when I am learning, I don't know if other SE or NI people would like agree with this. But when I am learning a new system, I see it everywhere, right? So it's like I am putting people into boxes and I am like seeing people through type, but at the same time, I need to really make sure that this is correct, or else I'm like distorting my perception, and that disturbs me. Yeah.
Right. There you go. Yeah, that's really good, actually. That's a really good example of demon NI. It's like you're responsible to what's real and not keeping your perception as close to the sensory as possible, not interpreting it. Yeah, not doing that interpretation poorly.
Yeah, because I think one of the ways that NI as in like in a savior state triggers me is that sometimes they'll like I think you should use these structures to understand like a person more, right? But sometimes it feels like the person is being flattened out, you know? And that's sometimes like, yeah, like I would get triggered by Dave Powers, like in the videos and stuff. I'm like, dude, like people are not this simple. What the heck? Like I feel like you're flattening them out. But yeah,
Right.
yeah. Whereas like I like to use typology in order to like I guess, even get more complexity out of a person. Yeah.
Interesting. So I'm just wondering why you see it as people getting flattened out. Because like I guess you're saying you're this or that, but each characteristic isn't a flat characteristic. It's like vast, right?
Yeah. But even okay, so there's 8 functions, right? Like,
Right.
I think the functions that we like have in our stack are like there are strategies that we usually go through life using, right? So it's not like we can't do them. And so sometimes it feels like when people talk about type, it's just like, oh, this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. I'm like, that's not true. This is your strategy. And then isn't it amazing that you can like open your eyes to all the other things you can do? Like,
Okay.
don't like put yourself into a corner. Like, I don't know. It just, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm really getting the OE brain from this. This is really good.
Yeah, that too.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about feminine sensory, how you see that in your life as well? In a non-flat way, of course.
So I originally thought I was an intuitive because I really related to all of the like anecdotes of like, oh, like you don't know, you leave your stove on and like you don't know what the hell's going on in reality and your imagination's more interesting. I'm like, yeah, same. But I guess how I can see myself as a sensor with feminine sensory first is that like I'm constantly like I have my eyes narrowed down on that NI and like I want to distill something always, but I have to do all the sensory first. Like I have to so it's the way I see myself being sensory is that I'm constantly gathering in sensory and constantly like wanting to prove it there, but I forget it all the time.
Right.
And I can only really remember things when it's in NI, I guess.
I want to talk about the memory thing a little bit too. What about in terms of tracking change and motion and the world around you? Do you feel responsible to always be aware of what's going on? Things like this?
See that was I would never really describe myself that way, but I guess I can see how I do things like that. So
How would you? Yeah.
I was listening to like an interview you had with somebody who was masculine SE or whatever, and they said something like, "Oh, like I always know where my exits are. Or, like I always know where my exits are. I always know what to do, and like I don't know stuff like knowing their surroundings." And I'm like, "Am I like that? I am always in my head." But like I do notice that. Actually, one of my friends pointed out, she's like, "Yeah, you don't like your back towards the like your the front end,
entrance,
like, yeah, the entrance. Sorry, that's feminine sensory too. I don't know words. And I do and I do feel claustrophobic and stuff like that. I do, do I sense motion? I do like. Back when I used to work at a coffee shop, like if somebody was acting weird, I would notice that. Like I think one of the first people to notice that. So I don't know. I wouldn't use that as a first thing I would describe myself as. Like, oh, I'm a person who's super aware of what's going on, but
right.
I am kind of aware.
What about comparing sensory on a spectrum as well? I guess since you're visual, like more visual on the visual tester side, you'll be looking at like comparing colors or like, do you do that kind of thing? I guess everyone does, but I mean, like, is that something that you're
comparing colors and stuff? Like, I guess this would be super stereotypical, but I guess it worked for like makeup or like fashion. I used to be really into interior design, and same thing with movies as well. Like I usually like when I talk about a movie, I like how I like talking about how it looks compared to other things. So like a lot of times, like when you're watching a movie, they'll change up the coloring to fit a mood, and I'm really in tune to stuff like that. And then like if I really love a movie, it usually has really good like coloring, and I'll be like, yeah, this movie looked freaking beautiful. This was this, and it was this, and it was this, and it was this, and I've never seen something like it before. So I see it in that way. I don't know if that was exactly
right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the memory then. So So like, do you find like you have a good memory for a span of time and then it just goes away? It just fades?
No, I feel
No?
like I have crap memory for just like all the time. So I'll give an
Like
example,
even
kind of.
short-term memory?
Yeah, like okay, so if there was something that if there was an event that happened right now, like I don't know, maybe you got in a fist fight, I don't know, somebody came through,
Or your dog
into the
peed?
frame or whatever. Yeah, like I wouldn't be able to describe everything from like point by point by point by point. I would remember the most like I would remember the vague like takeaway. You know what I mean? So I remember. So this really stands out when it comes to like the Discord and stuff. Like um, a few different feminine sensories and masculine sensories will see the same thing, but will tell the story differently. So the feminine sensories, whether they're intuitives or like sensors, they'll be like, this is the takeaway. Like, this is what happened. And then if you press us for details, or like if you press me for details, I will literally start doubting everything I saw, like my own memory. I'm like, I don't know, maybe I didn't see anything. I don't know. I
Right.
don't know. Yeah.
So right now, what happened with your dog, for example? Do you remember the sensory details of everything?
Yeah, like I remember the details. Yeah. But I would struggle to put everything in a linear line, if that makes sense.
Right. So where I'm going with this is it's just like, so you have a session where you're doing your gathering, right?
Mhm.
If you don't get a takeaway from that session, the session is lost.
No, I usually what happens is okay. So what is a good example of this? Um, okay, so if me and you were to have a discussion, um, I would be like, I'm sure that we would both start bringing sensory examples to prove some kind of NI point, right? Well, I would get stuck on that point, and I'd be like, oh, like this is the conversation I had with Ben. We discovered this thing, and then I would be able to remember some vague details of the sensory that you gave me, but I would probably like mix up some of the details, if that makes sense. But I
Right.
would still remember the sensory. Yeah. The difference I see with me and masculine sensors is that they feel more responsible to get every single like detail right, and I'm just like, hey man, like same. It doesn't matter if the car was blue or orange or whatever. Like it doesn't matter if it was noon or 3 p.m. Like
Yeah, that's very SE too. Doesn't matter. I also
yeah,
feel the same as masculine sensor. It doesn't matter what color the car was.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like I even with the story I told earlier about me discovering MBTI, I could have been 15, 16, or 17. I just remember that it was
All right, you just guessed at an age.
kind of
All right.
yeah.
All right. What I had a question. All this channel changing is frying my brain.
Sorry.
No,
I'm
it's
gonna
all right. I'm just joking.
okay.
Let's move on then. So your TE a little bit. It's also feminine TE.
Yeah.
Do you see that as well? That it's the difference between you and the masculine TEs a little bit?
Yeah, I do see that there's a difference. They kind of just seem like me, but with like balls or whatever. Like they say the stuff that like I don't know. I don't. They just say stuff without a filter, I guess. Less of a filter than I do. Yeah, but I don't find myself disagreeing with them.
What's the filter then? What does the filter mean?
The filter is that it feels like. Actually, I think the main difference is, I guess, like I don't want to fight in the thinking realm. Like I don't really want to. Like I look at my T more like exploration. Like, what do you think? Like I want to. But with masculine TEs, it's like okay, like prove yourself or like this is it and it's just like I don't want to. That's not like enjoyable for me. Like I actually get pissed off. So then the conversation dies and it doesn't like it's not a fun argument or whatever.
Do you feel like there is like one logical solution to everything?
No.
No. So does it annoy you if someone goes to like a single logical solution?
I guess if I agree with them, it doesn't annoy me. If I don't agree with them, I get a little bit like, dude, like there's a few different ways you can do this. Yeah. Or
Right.
you're just wrong. And I guess you're just going to be wrong. You know? Yeah. But honestly, I think I get where you're getting at. I guess in comparison of TE and TI, I don't find myself disagreeing with TI too much because as long as they're able to like explain where they how they came to the conclusion. I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me. Like, whatever.
Right. Do you find that you clash a lot with other T types, or not even? You're not even going in there to clash. Like you're avoiding the
Do I clash with other TE types?
or TI
I
type.
feel actually more comfortable with other TE types to TE. So I feel like maybe I would get more into more arguments with TE types for sure, and I guess that's fine. But I don't really see us clashing. It feels like comfortable for me. Like I said earlier, I'm going to contradict myself. I said earlier I don't like arguing. I kind of like arguing, but as long as like there's no feelings, like it's not like, you know, it's not like tense, you know, like
As long as it's not personal.
as long as it's not personal and like the person's like not screaming at me or like I feel like being disrespectful in the way that they're relaying their message. Like if it's just like, oh, here we're doing reasons back and forth. That's
right.
what me. Mm-hmm.
And then the play between those two, do you see yourself as lead play? Is that something?
Yeah, that's the first I guess like I came down to lead play. It was one of the first coins I got when I was typing myself. Yeah.
Right. So what is that? What is lead play like?
It's
double activated too, I guess, right? It's
how I would describe it is that I don't know, I like discovering things with new people. I like pinging back and I like talking to people. And I've always been like that. I'm just always interested in other people and interested in new ideas. And
right.
The way I see my consume and play put together is that like I will consume something, and the most fun part for me is also this is the playing part. Honestly, be like, what do you think about this? You know, I think this. Da da da. Well, that's interesting. What did you get from this part? Like, yeah.
Right. So like naturally, this kind of thing, like typology, for example, is interesting because you can get different perspectives from other people. Like do you see yourself as doing that? Is like sort of gathering thoughts, gathering insights?
Yeah, it's definitely really good for TE. Gathering how other people move through the world. That's so interesting to me. And how they think. Yes, that's really cool.
What about in terms of like, sorry, go ahead.
I would say for in terms of, oh my gosh, I totally forgot what I was going to say.
All right. So what about in terms of like shaking people up from whatever they're currently thinking or their path or things like this? Like, do you feel like you want to shake information free from people or?
I don't know. Can you give me more detail about what that would look like?
No, but so when you want to go and do play with someone, what are you trying to get out of the person? What are you trying to give the person? What is the exchange? Is it information exchange? Is it?
It's okay. I think it's information exchange, but it's also just pleasurable. It's just fun doing the ping back game all the time. It is just fun. So it's like, you know, I can talk on the phone for like 7 hours, like 8 hours, and that's just, it's not all just like, okay, give me your information. Okay, I got the information. It's like, yeah, it's like gabbing with this. It's just constantly throwing back the ball.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I get the intention isn't to get information out, but like post, like.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. I get what you're saying. I guess yes. Yeah. Extracting information from other people. Yeah. Or introducing them to something
sharing else. Even getting on the same. I don't know.
I'll introduce something that I've maybe learned, and then I will get somebody's thoughts on it a lot. Okay. Or like I'll talk about my day and be like, "What do you think about that?" So I can see my TE in my play a lot. Yeah, because
what does that help you? Like, how do you see that as being useful to you doing that? Like, it gives you connection with people. It helps you process things.
Yeah, so it gives me connection with people, and because I'm sleep last, it's like the main way that I kind of process my life as well. It also I feel like it makes me kind of an open-minded, like accepting person, because like I don't know, I am really curious about people, and I would say I'm pretty accepting of others and the way they go through life, and it's because I think I go through my life like banging on people's heads, asking about their experiences, and I also think it makes me kind of energetic, like I get a bit of a like buzz from it as well. Yeah, and it's also okay. Yeah, it also helped me a lot when it comes to a career and like just progressing places, because like I find it stressful to blast, so I guess organizing something and then doing it, but I always find it okay and fun to play, right? And so like I've done a lot of volunteering, I've made a lot of connections at work and at school and whatever, or with my professors, and just out of my own enjoyment. And I think people can kind of tell that. So it's like it's nice because it leads to other places. Yeah, I would say.
Right. What about in terms of feeling stuck and getting bored in one place and wanting new? Do you get that as well?
Yeah, that's like my biggest, I guess, tidal waves would be like, I don't want to be here. I've been here for too long. Like I've been doing the same thing for too long. I feel trapped. I feel like, and I also,
Right.
if I'm deprived of play, which is so like useful for me, because the times that, like looking back at my life, the times I've been deprived of play, like whether it was me depriving myself or my schedule or whatever, is like the times where I get like very, very freaking low and like I have like no energy. I'm sad about everything, and it's just like I don't feel good at all.
So
Yeah.
like this COVID thing for you, you had to find play in other places because you're not allowed to interact with friends and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I got into I don't know if I would be this into OPS if it wasn't for COVID. I really dived at like all in, you know.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's nowhere else to play, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly. Infinite play.
Um, Here we got a question here from Demon English. I guess it said it.
Hey, Colette, what is the most misunderstood thing about ESFPs? That we're only our first function, which is SE, and I was just like, that makes me laugh. Like I sometimes I talk to Catherine, who's basically my type 2, and she's just the DI version of me, and we're like,
Right.
yeah, like ESFPs, we are the Neanderthals of MBTI and OPS. Like we have the Neanderthal like function first, you know, like which is like I don't know. It still trips me out that everyone doesn't have like SE. It should be like the bingo like one, the bingo function. Everyone
Right.
should have it. But I guess that we're just super athletic people, or really good at makeup, or like I don't know, it's just shallow, stupid stuff. I'm like, the heck, it's dumb.
Do you
But yeah,
identify with being good athletically as well? Can you jump a fence?
honestly, yeah. I was thinking about this the other day because of the video they made. I've never jumped a fence, but I feel like I could, but I would fail like 3 times, and then like the fourth time I'd be able to jump, and then
Okay, yeah,
probably
that's a really good thing. Yeah, because we're not afraid of failure in our first function, right? So
that's
like,
hmm.
do you feel like you're afraid to fail in the sensory, or do you just try and try until you succeed, sort of thing?
I try and try until I succeed, yeah. Or
Yeah.
like it's fine if I like, and also because I'm feminine sensory, this is like another callback is like I don't I don't really get stressed out by the sensory. Like I was thinking about some weird thing I did. Like we were at me and my friends were at a festival, and we were this is such a, like an EP like thing, but we were like we couldn't leave the grounds, and so I found that there was like a way to leave the grounds that you could like sneak past like security guards and come back, because they would make you pay like to come back inside, and it was like kind of like through swampy water. I was like, let's do it. And we freaking waded through it, me and my friend, with all our luggage. I'm like, just put your luggage on top of your head and yada yada yada. And so that is like not a pleasant sensory experience, but like I was kind of chill with it because I'm like, yeah, like we're gonna go to this place, we'll shower there, it's whatever, and then we can have a nice rest and then come back and it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah.
Okay. What about discovering your FI? Was that something you've always done? Was it a stage in your life?
Let's see. See, I thought I was F5 like when I first came into OPS, and even with MBTI, I thought it was like saver FI. So I guess I've always been aware of my FI, but what's really interesting with my OPS type is that like it kind of explains a lot of things because I'm aware of it, but I never kind of allow myself to leap with it or like make decisions with it. I always have to do the thing that makes sense, which explains a lot of things in my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expand on that? I know we don't have the
Um,
masculine sensory, but
so for example, like back when I thought I was an INFP, like I would write poetry and I would like write short
So you can't do that
stories.
anymore because you're not an INFP anymore. That's it.
No,
Done.
I'm
No
not
more
an
poetry.
INFP, but
You had permission because you were an INFP, but now no more.
exactly. I'm like,
Oh
yeah, I'm
no,
also a poet.
that's really sad. Keep
Uh,
writing poetry, please.
no, I still do, but
Okay.
like this is when I was a teenager, right? So I'm like, oh, like I'm writing all these poems and these short stories, and my English teacher really likes them. Maybe I can be a writer. And then she literally told me, like, be a writer, all that stuff. And I never freaking did it. I'm like, that's stupid. I'm gonna starve to death. Like, and I just I went through literally every other like practical career thing before just I kind of accepting the fact that like I'm never going to feel good about doing something that's just purely creative without having like a money source, like a steady money source, because it's just going to make me feel terrible all the time. I'm never going to stop thinking about it. So I think that's TE, which is like, it doesn't freaking make sense, dude. Yeah.
Right. It's got to be something that works in reality. It can't just be you off writing for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though I always dreamed about it, it was a thing I wanted.
Right.
Yeah. It's
But
like,
I
I'm
mean,
never going to make the leap because
yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
I guess it does help you sleep process as well. This ties in here. Like it does help you sleep process, and it is like your hobby function. So I mean, you can do it as not a job, right? Not everything has to be a job.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a question here from Gray. What do you advise for developing demon sleep?
If you're a demon sleep, um, I'll just talk about my experience. For me, it just feels like all my problems could be solved by just doing more blast and more play. And just if I just was play blast, everything would be amazing. If I was play blast 24/7, it'd be amazing. And the most, I guess, valuable thing I got from OPS is that literally no one can do that. Like nobody can be play blast 24/7. And even though your brain will tell you that every single time that you have some downtime is either time you need to be consuming, so learning something new or producing something, it's just not feasible. You're gonna burn out. And so my advice for people who have demon sleep is just really accept the fact that um, you're going to be confused a lot because you have demon sleep. You don't know where you kind of want to go. It's going to be harder for you than regular people or people who have sleep. And the only way that you're going to get more of clarity is if you actually think about it. Like, don't do more research. Don't get started on another freaking plan, and don't constantly just expend energy. And this is what's helped me is that like narrowing down is just kind of easier when you just imagine all that, especially with me, I have NI-FI sleep. It's like imagining
Masculine too.
your life. Yeah. Yeah. Masculine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like what is that about? Do you see yourself doing the sleep now more? Did you do it before?
So I think throughout my life, there's been times where I've been really, really, really sleep last. And like, that's like super chaotic times. Like I'm really not doing good. I guess not doing good internally, but doing pretty well externally because you get rewarded for extroverted energy.
Right.
And then there are times where where I will experience a really bad crash because I don't know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, but I've been doing a lot of things and I feel no connection to it. And so I'll crash and then I'll go into sleep and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it just feels like kind of like mini depression or whatever, because you're just thinking about your life and you're like regretting things. But
it sounds like your sleep process serves to like recalibrate you to like reorient you in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually it's because I'm miserable, you know? That's why I'm on a sleep crash. It's like everything's working, but I'm really, really sad. So boom. And so now it's like, why are you sad? But I guess what happens, the bad thing about doing it this way is that like it's gonna happen again unless you do maintenance.
Right.
It's so easy for me to get lost in the extroverted world and just get lost in the day-to-day and the daily grind. Yeah. And not think about the big picture of my
So
life.
have you been trying to do the sleep consciously now more so to avoid the crash or to like minimize the crash?
Yeah. So what I've done is I basically choked the crap out of my consume. So like I don't really listen to podcasts anymore. I just haven't read books for a really long time, which kind of makes me sad, right? Because these are things that I like. But I need to choke out the play a little bit more as well, which is the thing is harder for me. But because I've been able to do that, I have more room to think about my life, and it just kind of happens more naturally. Because what I would do before was I would just always have earbuds in, and I was always listening to a book or a podcast or discussing some kind of topic with somebody on the phone, right? And so there's no time for you to sleep process if you're just constantly learning, which I felt like was productive. I'm constantly learning, or you're just constantly doing things. Mm-hmm.
So does it feel like you always have like this need to put your mind on something in the extroverted world sort of thing?
Yeah. So I feel for me, it's like being sleepless is that I don't feel like my inner world is like safe space. Doesn't feel like a safe space. It feels like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it just makes me anxious actually. I don't feel like that anymore because I've been able to work through a lot of the things that were making me scared and just um, not feeling that I need to fix everything right away. Because before, I would feel like if I looked inside and I saw a problem, well, what the hell are you doing? Contemplating this problem, do something about it, make a plan and go. But then if the plans that you make in an anxious state and like you haven't really thought about it, they're like harebrained plans that are just going to burn you out because you're in an anxious state and you gave yourself way too much work to do. And yeah, you're just like spinning your wheels basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. Really well explained.
Mm-hmm.
Does silence make you awkward? Like, do you feel like you need to fill the silence, or?
Um, I guess it used to make me feel a lot more awkward before I knew I was like allowed to sleep process. But I guess now it makes me feel awkward when I'm on the phone and I can't like see people because I don't know if they're enjoying it or what. So I do feel like the need to fill the silence. But um, in person, I'm much more comfortable with silence, and I think my family's
Right.
actually noticed that. Yeah.
What about in terms of like dancing for the tribe and stuff like that? Does that resonate with you? Like you need to dance to entertain them?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm trying to stop doing that so much. It's like if people aren't having fun, I feel like I'm responsible to like make people have fun or like get people engaged and like make it good for
Right.
them. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I guess like that leads people to love having you around because you're livening things up, and
Mm-hmm.
is there's like a void of you when you're not there because you're the one taking responsibility for that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I mean, like that for me is something that I think that I am missing more in the world because I'm less worried about others in that way and livening them up. So I
yeah.
think, yeah. So I think like depending on your type, what you have is something that I can really learn from as well
Mm-hmm.
to fill that void in my life, right?
Yeah.
Um, what about in terms of, okay, so let's talk about that demon NI, but we sort of touched on it a little bit. Do you see that as like a major issue in your life? Do you see that as something, because it's
Mm-hmm.
masculine, you get the NI, you just don't trust it, or?
Yeah, I still do the same thing that all the like demon and eyes do, which is I just gather way too much information and just don't narrow it down into a plan. And so it kind of helps me that it's masculine because it's like it's not that I don't really ever forget it, you know? Like
Mhm.
I know that I still need to work on this thing. I got to work on this
Right.
thing. When I do actually make a plan and it's kind of sleep processed and it's like solid, I will actually go through really crazy things to get it done. Because I get scared like if I have a plan and I'm not like working towards it and I'm not like um if I'm not actively doing something about it, it just feels like it'll never happen, right? So to combat that anxiety, I'll really, really make sure that I'm doing the thing. Mm-hmm.
Do you have like an example of when that happened?
Um, okay, so this is let me think. Um,
Or just any NI example, any NI tidal wave where you didn't narrow down enough, or?
okay, I'll talk about my senior year of high school. So um, I was a pretty good student, like towards all of high school, and then, or pretty much through junior high and in high school. I was in AP classes, and I was doing really well. And then my senior year, I like, um, my NI kind of got corrupted because I'm like, oh, I don't know if the thing I want to do like is actually going to happen, because like maybe it's not as realistic as I thought it was going to be. And so I kind of slacked off of my studies and all that. And so it was like the last 3 months of high school, and I was like, oh, I'm like really like I've missed like tests. I skipped like so much school and all this crap, right? And I was like, yo, like this is crazy. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna fix this. And so I made this ridiculous plan where basically I would have to study for like 10 hours a day, while still not going to class. And I would have to like I would have to bribe my teachers and like do all this crazy stuff. And I did it. So I learned like 6 months worth of material in like freaking like 1 month, and I wasn't going to school, and I still somehow got my teachers to get me to do the test and all that stuff. And I graduated with good enough marks to even get into university. And so that was pretty intense. I mean, it was like hellish, like, cause I don't know why I did it to myself, but I was like, okay, so here's the plan, now do it. And so I did do it.
So like you missed classes because you were narrowing down on that plan?
I missed classes because I had this idea that I was going to go to this really fancy university and whatever. And then my mom made like a throwaway comment, like, that's way too expensive. I don't know how you thought we were going to do that. And I had like made this plan when I was like in 6th grade, right? And I was like quietly doing it on my own. And that's why I became really good at school, right? And then I guess because of like not sleep processing enough, and like I was like already an hormonal, emotional teenager. I was like, yeah, well, I guess I can't get into the university I want. Like, I'm just not going to do anything. It's fine. Like, life sucks anyway. And then I was like, you know what? Actually, get your shit together. And so I got my act together in the last like few months. Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah, that sounds tough.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a question here. What do you think about meditation?
I probably should do it more. I was really into it like 5 years ago, but it just made me feel kind of anxious, honestly, which is like probably the opposite effect. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was something I hated so much that I like I would freaking procrastinate on doing it all day.
We have Leon here that wants you to share poetry.
No. Sorry.
Okay. What about the double deciding coin or single observing coin? Is that something that you're seeing as well?
It was literally the first thing I saw in myself when I got into the classes, because I see myself doing that for other people, if that makes sense. Like, that's kind of my role in the family, as being a mediator. And I've always had that role. I think my mom's a single decider. I think she is. I actually believe she's an ENTJ, like just a regular one. And so, yeah, like I was like, yeah, I'm definitely a double decider. I just have to figure out if I'm an EP or IJ or whatever. Mm-hmm. And gather. It's so obvious that gather is my like human.
Right.
Need. Yeah, because it's like the thing I live for, honestly. It's like learning new things. Mm-hmm.
How do you see the double deciding coin in yourself? Like, how do you mediate between people? How do you see people getting stuck and you're not stuck?
I just don't. I can't even stay mad at people for very long, because I'm just too like I just feel like almost in my soul this need for balance of like, oh, they're shit, I'm shit, it's fine, like it's good, let's just get over this. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I am so obsessed with gathering, where it's just like, let me just figure out this people shit and then go back to the thing I really care about, which is like doing my thing, or like reading about OPS, or I don't know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're not
find a petty, I think, a little bit, where it's just like, this is not something we need to care about. Who cares? Yeah.
Yeah. So like you're not holding yourself back from, I don't know, interacting with people and causing a little bit of chaos with people because you know that you can just double decide your way out of it later, or?
Yeah, I guess so. I think it also is more, I think it's more obvious too, because I'm a DE savior, so I'm not really thinking about my reputation and all that stuff too. Because it's like to go back to the high school story, like I had a terrible reputation with these teachers, and I didn't really care looking like an idiot and be like, "Hey, what's up? I'm still in class. I need to take that."
Right.
And it's just like I don't really mind. So yeah, I guess it's this interest when it comes to the the people drama. And I actually don't mind if people hate me as well, you know, like that's fine.
Really?
Like I definitely, it's not like I'm this monk, right? I've definitely been an asshole to other people, and it's just like, okay, I guess they hate me now. It's like fine. Like I like myself enough to not care.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Can we get back a little bit to the discovering of your FI? I feel like we didn't flesh it out enough, really.
Mhm.
So you were talking about the poetry and stuff like that. What
Mhm.
about in terms of it's masculine FI? So what about in terms of like your identity and I don't know, building yourself up, things like that,
Mm. Um,
your intentions, things like this.
I don't know. Hmm. I guess I would say that I would say that I feel responsible to make my own values, and I can stick to that, you know. But it takes a little bit more maybe effort than a saver FI.
Right. What does that even mean? Making your own values.
Um, so I can like something that I can't really argue, you know, like, but I just care about. Um, I don't need I don't need other people who are surrounding me to also agree with it, you know. Um, okay, I'll give an example of how I'm TE over FI though. So I'll have a value, and sometimes the way I see myself being more TE over FI is that like I don't have the like this, especially when I was younger, is that I don't really have like strong arguments. And a lot of the heat that I'm displaying is becoming just from the FI, because like I really care about this thing, but I do want people to kind of align with me because I'm like, oh, it makes sense because of this X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So
So you'll kind of bullshit some kind of reasons in order to justify your FI, and then it'll annoy people.
yeah, I guess it can get on people's nerves. Yeah, I've stopped doing that so much, but it's like I do feel like I have values and they're strong and it's not movable, but I do feel the need to give them reasons, even if they're like bullshit reasons. But I'll toss them, especially when
Okay.
I'm talking about it. How do
Gray
you-
asks, how do you feel about double observing?
I feel like double observing is so freaking awesome. Like, I'm very jealous. I wish I was a single decider, double observer.
How do you see that? Yeah. How do you see that you're not doing it? Others are doing it. What are you jealous of? What
I'm
does that
not
even mean?
like there's the missing freaked out energy. Like I will see it when I talk to other single observers is that when somebody has like an observer issue, we will literally bring the energy up and like get more anxious. And when you get more anxious, you can think less, right? Whereas the double observers is that they might have like a lot of like crazy like things happening in their lives, right? But they're just a little bit more calm. And I feel like that's probably how you should be. I don't know. Like
So how
um
do you see yourself getting worked up about observer issues? What kind of stuff do you get worked up about?
um okay, so I used to get really worked up about politics, and that's why I kind of had to like stop looking at it because I'm like, oh my god, it always felt like the end of the world every time I like learned something new about politics. I'm like, oh crap, like it just felt like, oh my gosh, we're going to a dark place, and it's like not, like not the world's like declining, you know. And with double observers, like
Oh, I see.
especially when I talk politics with my mom, she's very much like, oh yeah, it's gonna get worse, but then it's gonna get better. It's fine, it's whatever. And I'm like, no, this is serious. Like,
Right. So like you're right away latching on to like what the NI is going to end up doing. Oh, this is going to happen, and then you get stuck on that one NI pattern. And
yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. So like, do you resonate a little bit with conspiracy theories and stuff like that?
No, not really. I would
No.
say the way maybe I have conspiracy level like anxiety or whatever. I'm like, man, the people need to wake up, but it's like all about real things, right? It's just that I have too much energy like behind it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And what about like looking for things to explain reality, like typology or I don't know, astrology or tarot or things like this? Like, is that something that you're naturally drawn to explain?
No, not to explain.
No.
I think that's more like a hobby thing. Like this is fun for me. But more to explain, I guess, is just I would just read something about the subject that I'm interested in. So if it was politics, I would read about politics, or if it's media analysis, I would read a book about media analysis.
Right. Okay, say that again.
Do you struggle with sharing your FI? Um, Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I guess actually a lot of it is tied into like being blind to FE a little bit, or like feeling insecure about FE, because it's like if I know that what I'm going to say is probably like socially acceptable, like, oh, like I like you, that's like a normal nice thing to say, so that's sharing my FI. But if it's like more intense emotions, or if it's something I created, and I don't know if people are gonna like vibe with it, or like if it's even like appropriate to share, I don't know, how am I gonna look, all that stuff like comes up, and I just don't, I'd rather not do it.
Like push it back down. Don't
Yeah, I'm
let it
like,
out.
stop.
Yeah.
This is for private.
What about processed emotions versus unprocessed emotions? Are the processed ones easier to share once you've come to some kind of resolution about them? How you felt about something in the past that you've already gone through? I don't know.
See, it's just hard. Yeah, I guess like the high school story was something super hard for me in the moment.
Right.
And it was hard for me even before quarantine, and I sleep processed that. Was one of the first things I sleep processed. I was like, oh, that still hurts. Yeah, maybe I never actually healed that. So it's easy for me to share now, right? Because it's like I think like I made my peace with it. But the hard thing is that like because I'm sleep last, I feel like there's a lot of things I didn't make peace with. And so it's like usually what happens is when I'm hurt or whatever, or like something sad is happening, I'll just like straight up deny that it's hurting me or whatever. And it's like, I'm fine, and push that down.
Mhm.
And then later when I'm telling it, I'll randomly cry and stuff. Yeah.
Oops, sorry. The thing moved. Any similarities you saw between you and your type twins? Who are your type twins?
Stephanie from the group.
Okay.
I feel like me and Stephanie have some things in common in that we have like a lot of the same life pattern of like it's SE but also TE over FI. It's like, oh, like these are a lot of things I've gathered, and it's kind of hard for me to narrow down on a path. And when I'm given space to narrow down on a path for myself or do something on my own, I somehow find myself doing stuff for other people anyway. Like I find more work for myself to do for other people. So relate that way. And then I feel like some of our differences is I feel like Stephanie has better TE than me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there like a cringe factor with your type twins, or is there like
No. Oh,
no?
and then I guess my type twins for like the docs and stuff.
Right.
Stephanie was my type twin from my Facebook group. For the docs, I have David Goggins as my type twin, and then a beauty guru. I don't remember her name. And I guess both of them actually went through a lot of hard stuff, and they have like the beauty guru, like she went through quite a bit actually, and then she's kind of smiley and all that stuff, and I recognize that as feminine TE. And with David Goggins, he's kind of an intense human being, but I do relate to him as well. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm not an athlete or anything, but
okay. And you have a YouTube channel where you're also doing a little bit of interviews and stuff like that. What do you want to tell us about it? I have the link in the description for anyone who wants to know.
yeah, so me and Danielle from the Facebook group have a YouTube channel called Skib and Mope. She's a Mope and I'm the Skib. And basically what we do is that we're two censors. So basically what we do is we interview people from the OPS groups, and we have like discussions of our own where we try to take theory and then bring it back down to reality and see if it's like real. It's, but kind of that's just kind of the channel. Yeah, it's really fun.
That's okay. And what kind of stuff are you doing on the channel? You have guests and interviews, or just talking between the two of you?
So the interviews aren't just straight interviews. We're usually exploring a topic. So we've had a group interview for FI. We have one coming up on the 19th about TI, and then we have like a few interviews about play versus sleep. And yeah, so it's a lot of it's compare and contrast, or having a few different people of the same with something in similar, and then talking about that. Yeah, sharing their experience.
Cool. Awesome. Do you have any final message or something you want to say to people about your type, or anything else you want to promote?
No, thanks for watching, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for coming, Ikraam.
No worries.